This is video 12, and this is talking about functions and relations, domain, and range. Okay, so a relation is any pairing between x and y values. Okay, that could come in the form of an ordered pair, a table. We've looked at both of those a lot lately. Mappings, you guys might remember those from middle schools, and then of course graphs. Okay, and if I were to graph ordered pairs, it'd just be a whole bunch of dots. Okay. Our domain is the set, and that's those brackets that we're looking at, is all the x values, and those are also called our inputs. Our range is all of the y values, and we call those outputs. Okay, so looking at an example here, if I were to find my domain, it would be my x values. Okay, and we put those in least to greatest order. Our range would be all our y values. And even though there are two lines going to our 3, you only need to write it down once. Okay, and we again put those from least to greatest. Now that's just if we have a mapping or a table or an ordered pair. If we have a graph that's a continuous function, when we find domain, we're going to read left to right. When we find our range, we read bottom to top. Okay, that's going to make a little bit more sense in these two examples. Okay, so here I've written out our domain and our range. Okay, so the first thing that I get to coming from the left would be -2. It's kind of like if I was an elevator. The first thing I get to is -2. Moving on, the last thing I get to all the way over here is 5. Okay, it's that line at 5. Okay, now we always use less than signs. Okay, now here we use less than or equal to's. This one's a little hard to see because these are solid lines or closed circles. It includes these numbers. Okay, I can physically touch -2 and 5. Okay, now with our range, we do bottom to top. So the first number I get to coming from the bottom is -4. I keep going up all the way up here, and the top number I reach would be this line, which is +3. Okay, and see how we use a y since it's range. Okay, and make sure to use those less than or equal to's because it's a solid line. All right, over here we've got a little bit more of a difficult problem. Our domain, if I were to read going left to right, the first thing I touch would be -2. Now, if I keep going over as that kind of like that elevator, well, I get to an arrow. Okay, well remember, that means it goes on forever and ever and ever and ever. Okay, which I don't know what that number is. It's just infinity. I can't capture that number. I can't touch infinity. So when we're writing this out, we just put a less than sign and not an or equal to, because I don't really know what infinity is. It just keeps going on. Okay, so this would be -2 is less than or equal to x is less than infinity. Okay, looking at my range, I go bottom to top. First thing I reach is -3. I keep going up on my graph on the red. Well, the top number is 3. Okay, but remember, this goes on forever and ever and ever, and it's going up and up and up. Okay, so my top number would actually be infinity. Now, another way to write this is I could say x is greater than or equal to -2, and y is greater than or equal to -3. Okay, but always just remember, domain you read left to right, range you read bottom to top. All right. So talking about functions, those are a special type of relation where each x value has exactly one y value. Okay, x values cannot repeat, but y values can. Okay, I like to kind of think of this as a vending machine. Is if I press a button for a candy bar, I want that candy bar and not a bag of chips. Okay, so it's kind of like our vending machine has to work. Okay, our y values can't repeat. So if we look at this first example, we've got a 1, 3, and a 1 for my x values. Okay, well, we just said x values cannot repeat. My y values can. Okay, but I've got 2 1s. That's a problem for me. Okay, so this is not a function. Okay, for number 2, do my x values repeat? No. Okay, so it is a function. My y values can. I can totally have 2 -3s. That's totally fine. I just can't have two x values that are the same. Okay, for our mapping, we've got 2 lines for my 1 going to 1 and 7. Well, that just says my x value repeats to 2 different y values. Okay, if that was a vending machine and I press that button, I might not get what I want. Okay, so this is not a function. Okay, now this funky looking graph. Because right here I've got 3 different x values, or I've got the same x values, okay? So, and they all have 3 different y outputs or ranges, okay? That's not a function. Now, something to help us a little bit would be the vertical line test, okay? And what this means is if a vertical line goes through a graph on a relation in only one place at one time, then it is a function. Okay, so here we've got 3 different graphs, okay? On this first one, I can draw a line anywhere and it's only going to touch one point at one time. Okay, so that is a function. On my triangle, if I draw a line anywhere on this, it's going to touch 2 points. Okay, we can't have this, so this is not a function. We've got a V, okay, or absolute value. I can draw a line anywhere through this and I'm only going to touch 1 point at one time, so that is a function. But if I turn that V on its side, we can clearly see that that will not be a function. Okay, so this is talking about domain and range and functions, and we're going to be doing a lot more with this. So this is just kind of part 1 of our functions.